Proof of Concept podcast is designed to be an inclusive ecosystem of IT professionals where we bring together executives, technical resources, and future technology superstars. Today, we have with us in the studio a guest who's going to join me remotely. This is someone you will enjoy listening to. His name is Abdie. He's a cybersecurity professional, cloud enthusiast, and speaker who enjoys learning as well as helping others in their respective tech careers. He earned his bachelor's degree in management information system and then earned a master's degree in cybersecurity management in policy, alongside multiple industry certifications to date. Currently, Abdie is a senior cloud engineer at Lockheed Martin. In this role, he leverages his expertise in cloud technology to drive innovation and deliver the utmost value to internal customers. Abdie, it is a pleasure to meet you and welcome to the Proof of Concept podcast.
Jared, my brother, thank you for having me, man. It really is a pleasure and honor to be here. I gotta say, your fashion is top notch, man. Next level.
Well,
I don't think I came prepared for this one.
You see, when I knew we were going to have this conversation, I told my wife that I want you to get in the closet and bring me my most advanced weapon. You know what she says? She says, what happened? And I said, I'm going to be the most fashionable technologist. She said, I thought this was your title. I said, well, my title has been under attack. I've got to defend. It's a pleasure to be with you here on the set, Abdie. And you are a guy who doesn't follow the norm. It's not normal or usual for technologists and IT people to dress the way you do. You're in the most reputable circles. People are wearing hoodies and other types of garments that are more typical to IT professionals. Yet you always show up with your suit and tie and jackets and pocket square. That motivates a lot of IT and cybersecurity professionals to follow your footstep. What's the reason for that? Why is it important for you to dress well, even if you work in IT?
Great question, brother. So when it comes to dressing up, definitely, if you're dressing up and you're an IT professional, you're definitely going to be a bit more of an anomaly because, as you said, the norm is more relaxed, more Silicon Valley, jeans, t-shirt, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. And for me, dressing up makes me feel a lot more better about myself. And also, it's one of those things where right now we're verbally communicating, right? But we're also engaging in nonverbal communication. Our clothing is communicating something about us, whether we like it or not. And as human beings, we tend to process images much, much more faster than words. So for me, my clothing introduces myself before I get to introduce myself.
Are you not worried that you look different from your peers?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I do look a little different from my peers. So here's what I do, right? I do get some comments sometimes like, hey, you're doing a little too much. I don't go to conferences or networking events and whatnot. But, for me, the way I look at it, hey, this is who I am. This is me putting my best foot forward.
I've been following you on social media, and I see you in some of the biggest circles, right? AWS conferences, Duan Lightfoot, and some other top technologists are the people that you rub shoulders with now. But you started your career not in IT. Can you tell us, whatever you were doing before, how did you pivot from that to IT?
The original plan was to become an economist. And then as I was studying economics, I really enjoyed the topic, understanding how markets work. And, it was after I got my associate's degree, I realized, okay, if I wanted to become an economist and make, good money, I'd have to go all the way to get my PhD and not coming from a lot of money and, the obligations to my family that I had at that time. So what I did was I changed my major to management information systems upon transferring to university. Still didn't know what part of tech I wanted to be in, but I did understand at that time, hey, tech is a booming field. You should consider that path.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few years later, now I'm going into my senior year. A friend of mine recommended me to an IT systems analyst position on campus. And I didn't look back after that. I did that for a year. Then another friend recommended me get into cybersecurity. And after a lot of networking, a lot of failed interviews, we finally got my first role in cybersecurity. And then fast forward to now, after, doing different roles within my current company that I work for, I eventually evolved into the cloud space. So
A lot of people complain about that. As a person with minimal experience or no IT background, it is difficult to
Yeah.
find your first job. How did you get over that?
What helped me a lot was having the right people in your circle. You need to have people who speak life into you, who give you constructive criticism, but at the same time, they love you enough to also push you forward. What I did was, I networked like crazy. I went to every networking event I could go to. I built relationships with, professionals in the industry. LinkedIn was one of them. I was heavy on LinkedIn. This was around 2018, number one. Number two, I took workshops very seriously. I went to every workshop I could go to. I networked at every career fair, even if there were career fairs where, they weren't hiring or, I didn't feel like I had a chance at all. I still went anyways.
Within a few years, you found your way into cybersecurity and you pivoted from cybersecurity now into cloud. Tell us about how you got into cybersecurity.
Yeah, so when I was a systems analyst at the university, I was fortunate enough to meet men who were in the cybersecurity field,
Mhm.
professionals. They worked at, either big tech, and they also worked in DoD. They happened to be black men as well. And that was for me like, wow, like I see these successful black men professionals who are doing really big things in the cybersecurity field. And that was a big inspiration for me. What I did to gain the qualifications is a lot of study. To be honest, there's a lot of study, a lot of research. The certifications do help, yes, but the real learning beyond the certifications is, just you being a practitioner in the field and the amount of time I spent learning and studying and really, taking time to talk with industry practitioners who have much more experience than I do, like yourself. These conversations alongside, the studying and the failures, I think, give me the qualifications to speak on this.
You know what I deduce from what you just mentioned here? Dedication. Above
Yes.
everything else, dedication to excellence, to the pursuit of excellence. Was the traditional study that you did, the bachelor's, the master's, how much did that help you in the pursuit of that technology excellence?
Yes, so it definitely played a role. I did learn some valuable skills there. No doubt about it. The most I've learned though was outside of the course curriculum. The
Mhm.
reason why I believe is because most of the times when it comes to university curriculum, they tend to be a little bit outdated. For me, most of my skills I've gotten outside the classroom. However, I did learn valuable skills in the classroom. And the cool part about the classroom too is that I got to meet so many people in the tech space that I would not have had I not been there.
At times, I notice there is, I'd say, polarization in the
Mm,
technology field. There tend to be groups or categories of IT or cybersecurity professionals or technology professionals in general.
right,
And one of those categories that I have noticed is those who went to college. Another is those who didn't go to college. Another is those who are self-taught, those who are certified,
right.
etc., etc. Have you noticed these polarizations or these categories being made by IT professionals? And how do you understand that if you notice that?
The way I understand it, Jared, is this, right? Everybody's path is going to look different, and it also boils down to where you're at in your life. For
Mhm.
example, if you're someone with three kids and going back to school financially, is just not feasible at this time. But for someone who maybe is 17, 18, and they get a full ride scholarship to university, well, it might make sense for them to go to university because you
Yeah,
get an experience of a lifetime to really network with so many other people from all over the world at said university, and you get to build skills along the way without necessarily paying a dime because you've got that scholarship. So for
yeah.
me, I think the bashing of certifications, the bashing of degrees really doesn't make sense. What makes more sense is saying, hey, what's the most optimal path for you, and that's going to look different for everybody.
There is a poem by a guy named Robert Frost that's called "The Road Not Taken." It says two roads diverged in the yellow woods. Be one traveler. I couldn't travel both. Something along those lines. And so a traveler sees two roads that diverge in the woods, and so he's got to choose one, right? And he chose the one less traveled by. That's why they call it the road not taken. But what he discovered in the end is that the roads converge. They
Mm.
diverged in the beginning, and they converge. So do you notice this convergence that regardless of the path taken, we are all headed towards the same destination, which is technology excellence.
Yes, no doubt about it. All of us ultimately are, we're, like each path I just mentioned with degree, certification, boot camp, all leads to you, building valuable skills,
Yeah.
so you can get to that technological excellence. We all have the same goals in mind, especially when it comes to that. And I love that was so poetic how you mentioned that all the roads eventually do converge. Yeah.
Yeah, and that technology excellence, uh, it can mean different things based on what lens you're looking at it through, right? From the lens of the executive, the lens of the business owner, the lens of the investors, the lens of the technologist, and the technologists at different levels of their technology pursuit. Those that are entering the field, those who have been working in the field for a while. In summary, what would you say would be a universal term that we would all be able to take and say, okay, it doesn't really matter what path you took, so long as you can achieve this.
Technology excellence for everybody. For me, the ability to grow and give back.
Yeah.
And as you continue to grow, you're able to give back more. That's for me is technology excellence.
And I take that. That's a very, very good answer. You see, for me, I'll tell you a little bit. I came from Haiti, and you probably a lot of people have heard about Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and at times others would say the first Black republic of the Western Hemisphere as well. The only country that has defeated the French military, and it was a group of slaves that defeated the French army. Right? That's the only time that this has happened. So there are so many different connotations of what the term Haiti means, but
Right.
generally this means poverty. I didn't just come from Haiti. I came from poor Haiti. I had multiple different obstacles that were in front of me. First, I was an orphan. I didn't get to meet my mother. She died too early. I had other life challenges to overcome. After I came to the United States, I came to one conclusion that it is not likely, it is impossible for me to make it to anything worthy in life. But then I told myself the second part of the story is that what do I have to lose? Every morning when I wake up, if I can move, I can breathe, I can walk, I'm going to keep moving forward. I know I'm not going to get anywhere because it seems so much that everything's stacked against me, regardless of how much effort I put in. And it
Right.
became clear to me that, okay, my efforts are not going to be enough. But then I say, do I just die laying down, or do I just keep moving forward? I said, I'm going to keep moving forward. And I made this promise to myself. That was a dangerous promise to make. I said, if I die along the way, so be it. But I'm going to keep moving forward. And regardless of what happens, I'm going to keep moving forward so long as I can keep moving. And so at times things get super hard. I would spend days without sleep because I'm pursuing this. I'm working at the Valley. I'm working until 4 a.m. and then I show up to class at 7 a.m. and this and that. But somewhere along the way, something magical happened, Abdi. It is that there was light at the end of the tunnel. I just couldn't see it from where I was coming from. And then out of the blue, the walls crumble. And then the light became so clear. And overnight, I became someone who could sustain myself and my family. From an Uber driver who was very, very struggling, and from a person who can afford to live in a nicer neighborhood and buy my children's nicer clothes and stuff like that. And it became clear to me that technology is a power. It's a force that we can use for multiple different purposes. For my purpose, it was carry myself by the bootstrap out of poverty, and along the way, my entire family with me. But for others, it might be to improve the performance of their business. And for others, it might be to bring themselves this personal satisfaction, etc., etc., whatever it might mean. I think this is not a force to ignore, and coming together to show others that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But you're not going to see it in the beginning. You just need to keep moving and make sure that you can keep moving. And somewhere along the way, the walls will crumble and you'll get to the light. So, what does technology mean to you? Can you tell us a personal story or something? What did your technology career achieve for you?
Yeah. For me, Jared, technology means opportunity. It's changed my life. I remember I was on campus during community college, and because I lived, it was a good drive from back home, right? But it was very hard to study at home because I had so many siblings. So I'd have to stay on campus all day to really get productive study done. Some days I'd go very hungry. I didn't have enough money for food or lunch. I remember, going through the pantries on campus to get noodles. That way I can eat on campus and then, after that, get back to studying. Plenty of credits at a time. I was taking 18, 21 credits. So, I was really trying to finish community college very fast. And it's crazy. You fast forward to, after graduating college and getting getting a full-time cybersecurity role. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't worry about, if I have enough money for food, and that was a little bit of a concern during community college because of, trying to stay on campus all day and get schoolwork done. But yeah, I don't have to worry about that anymore. And just being able to support my family back home.
Yeah.
My family's all in San Diego. I'm on the East Coast. And the ability to support my family back home and alleviate expenses for my parents.
Yeah.
There's no greater honor than that.
Where is back home?
San Diego, California. Well, my family's originally from Somalia, East Africa.
Somalia.
We immigrated Somalia. And it was it was a lot of mayhem, war during the 90s.
That was where Operation Desert Storm took place.
Yes.
Why did you move from cybersecurity? It's not coming. That's everybody's dream now. This is the trend. Right. Everybody wants to be in cybersecurity. You get there at one of the most respected institutions in the world. Within that same institution, you move away from cybersecurity and into the cloud. Why?
Yeah, it was because I really wanted to expand my horizons. So when I was in my cybersecurity role, I was focused on risk and compliance, security audits, making sure that the machines, the operating systems, the software that we were using met the minimal security requirements to get an authority to operate. So that's for platforms in the Department of Defense. And ATO means the government is authorizing this platform to be used and to be also sold to other countries or other businesses. And I did that, and I really enjoyed that. But I realized, hey, Abdi, you need to expand your horizon more. Where's the industry going? And I have realized over the past few years, the industry is going more of a hybrid cloud adoption. When I say hybrid, I mean both on-prem and both cloud together, a mix of both. And there was a lot of knowledge gaps in cloud. So I said, you know what? Go the uncomfortable route and get into the cloud.
From your professional opinion, as a person who has done that, not someone who has just watched movies and YouTube videos, what really is cybersecurity? What do you do, or what did you do as a cybersecurity professional?
Great question. So, yes, a lot of times you'll see, the guy in the hoodie in the movies, and when it's marketed on commercials, you'll see, a very different image, right? You see a kid, someone hacking away. For me, my role is more focused on, hey, how do we make sure we meet the minimal security requirements so that we can do business? Granted, because we're meeting the minimum doesn't necessarily mean we're optimized securely, but meeting the minimum is just so our business can continue to operate. And, my role was focused on building policies and procedures. Having a strong policies and procedures is very important for an information security program, number one. I also did lots of audits. I worked on an assembly line, essentially. I worked with engineers from different disciplines. You had, systems engineers, you had test engineers, you had quality engineers. And on the assembly line, pretty much all of us would work on this laptop or server, and we'd each have our go at it to make sure we complete our tests. That way we can, assure that, hey, it's met the minimum security requirements, and now we're going to go deliver this to our customer. Yeah. So that's what I did. I wasn't really big on the pen testing side. And, just for everyone's education, there are a lot of different domains in the security space. There are people who focus on training. There are people who focus on security awareness, and their role is to teach, how to stay safe online, how to make sure that you're addressing cybersecurity risk as an everyday user, on your cell phone, right? That those people that do that are people who focus on, the blue team, defending systems, monitoring the network, and ensuring that, no bad guys are causing mayhem and causing the business to go down. So there's lots of different domains in cybersecurity. I encourage everyone to do some research and look through to see, where would you feel most comfortable? If you don't know, just try one and then pivot.
Yeah. And what if this person is new? They don't have any work experience, fresh 18-year-old. They
Right.
didn't do anything before. Maybe they did something, maybe work in a restaurant or in construction, etc. But they didn't really have a career. What do you say to this person?
What I say to this person is first, try to learn some IT fundamentals. I think, you can never go wrong with that. The cool part about learning IT fundamentals is that regardless of what new technology, what new tech industry you want to get into, the fundamentals will always be relevant. Think
Yeah.
about like this, Jared. Like LeBron James has been playing basketball for over 20 years. My God, that's a long time. Like I was a kid when, I remember LeBron James playing, right? But every game he still practices the layup.
Yeah.
Every game he's still practicing the layup. And it's like, yo, the guy has been doing this for so long, he still practices the layup. What does that mean? It means, no matter, the NBA has evolved in the past 20 years. But regardless of how the game has evolved, he still practices the fundamentals. It's the same thing. You know, I recommend if you're looking to get into cybersecurity, really try to get your IT fundamentals down. Again, you don't need to be an expert in networking. You don't need to be a CCIE. You don't need to be an expert in governance, risk, and compliance. But just getting the basic technical fundamentals down, I think will be, very, very beneficial. Like, what is an operating system? What is Linux? What is Windows? What is TCP/IP? What are basic ports and protocols you should be aware of? I think getting those down, I think will help you make a decision. As far as picking one, hard for me to recommend which one. I'm a bit biased. I started off in governance, risk, and compliance.
Yeah.
However, it really boils down to, hey, just pick a path, and then if you don't like it, you can always pivot. And that's another thing. As human beings, we can always reinvent ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I went from doing full-time cybersecurity to now doing full-time cloud engineering with a little sprinkle of security in there.
Yeah. Abdi, that's such a great conversation. I want to touch before we close on the cloud. What's the day in the life of a cloud engineer?
For me, what I do is I consult internal teams on, their cloud migrations. Hey, they want to use cloud technology for a platform. Okay, cool. Here are some services. Here's the architecture, the reference architecture you'd like to use, number one. Number two, I'd say, hey, here's some security risks that you want to consider. Just like on-prem, you still want to make sure you're encrypting your data at rest, right? You still want to make sure you're encrypting your data in transit. You have to be mindful of the shared responsibility model. Security is still, a responsibility of yours. It's going to look a little different in the cloud. I also talk about cost optimization as well. That's another big thing I've been working on, is helping account owners understand, hey, as we're continuing to grow our business, how do we make sure that we're optimizing our costs? Granted, just because our costs are going up, doesn't inherently mean it's a bad thing. If your business is experiencing growth, your costs going up actually makes sense.
Yeah.
However, if your costs are going up, but business growth isn't reflecting that as well, then that means there's a lack of optimization. That's when I'll hop on a call and I'll talk to developers and say, hey, here's some things, here's some tools you can use to automate your cost optimization on the cloud. So that's a little bit of what I do, a good mix of teaching cloud fundamentals to teams, onboarding new practitioners in AWS, teaching them the basics, and helping individuals become good stewards of their account, including cost security, well architected framework, all that good jazz. And I do a little bit of programming myself, building automation tools with some teammates.
Excellent. So I'll ask you this. I'm new to IT. I don't know anything about IT whatsoever. I am interested in cloud. Give me two things that I should learn that are critical for me to be useful as a cloud professional.
Great question. So what I recommend is learning networking fundamentals, because regardless of what path you choose, there's going to be some type of networking in there. Again, you don't need to be an expert. I don't even think you need to be a CCNA. I just think, you want to just have the basic grasp of networking. And then, I would add, learn a basic cloud service provider. There's many cloud service providers out there. You have Azure from Microsoft, you have AWS, and then you have Google Cloud.
The big three.
Those are the big three. So I would recommend choosing one of the big three, and don't learn them at the same time. Just pick one, start learning one, and learn networking fundamentals. And I know you said two, but I'm gonna add another one. Yeah, I would also learn, some form of programming fundamentals like Python. Again, you don't need to be an expert to learn Python fundamentals. That'll be very beneficial for your career. Oh, I have to say one more. Linux operating system. Learn some Linux. Learn some Linux. Jared said two, I gave four. So learn some Linux. You can't go wrong with that.
That's appreciated. Well, that was an explosive discussion. I look forward to having more of these. Abdi, you are a role model in the IT and cybersecurity community. You are the epitome of a person who can take their career and lift this career by the bootstrap. And you are the example in the embodiment of how it is possible to grow an IT or cybersecurity career without having to suffer for years. Within just about 5 years, you entered the field and now you're a respected force in the IT and cybersecurity field, respected by some of the most respectable in the most historic institutions in the United States. So I commend you for that. And I thank you for taking the time not only to speak to me, but to speak to my viewers and to speak to the young people all around the world in the different communities of different colors and different ethnicities and different fabrics, to give them the hope and to tell them that there is light at the end of the tunnel. They may not see it now, but it is there. They just need to keep moving forward. And you are the living example, living proof of that there is hope, and technology is one of the tools that we can use for upward mobility. Abdi, if you have to close this for me, what would you say?
I would say, man, Jared, first off, wow, that was a high praise and high honor, brother. Appreciate your example, appreciate your body of work, appreciate what you've done for your family, and honestly, you have quite the story, brother. God bless your heart, man. What I will want to close on this is to say that, hey, you do, if your question whether you belong in the tech space or not, I want to let you know you do belong in the tech space, but it's not going to come for free. You're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay not just money, but you're going to have to pay with sweat. You're going to have to pay with a little bit of tears and some hard work. Right? You're going to need a little bit of grit. You're going to do some things you're not very comfortable with, and that's okay. You might not be comfortable going to networking events. I want to encourage you to get out of your comfort zone and do the things that are uncomfortable. That's where you'll see the light at the tunnel.
Wow, so powerful. Thank you again, sir. Have a great weekend.